Hey, my name is Joe from Valhalla Exotics, and if you're watching this video, then you have made the decision to purchase some of my Vanaheim Cage Conversion system products. And I have to say, thank you. Thank you so much for supporting me and supporting my business as I continue to grow and create and design new products for you, reptile enthusiasts, shield maidens, and Drengrs alike. I'm really excited today because I'm going to make a video showing you exactly how to work and use each of my products that I create. I designed these for me, basically. I really thought that there could be a better way for us to keep reptiles. We haven't done it in the right way for so many years now. We've been keeping them in adjusted aquariums, DIYing. Then we started getting into PVC and things started to get better. But I think that reptile care still has a long way to go and still has a lot of room for things to change, update, and get better. I'm really excited to be a part of it. I am going to be doing a video with each individual product, and we're going to walk you through each step of how to use them appropriately and all the little tips and tricks that I've learned while modifying and perfecting these items. If you have any ideas for new products, feel free to message me. I'm always looking for new things to design, and I really enjoy this process. So join me, and I'm going to show you how these work. Really excited about it. Firstly, let's go over a few of the tools that you're going to need while custom designing one of your cages. For the vents, you're going to need a drill and a standard 2-inch hole drill. This is for the same thing you would use for like doing a doorknob, only it's the 2-inch size. Basically, you'll use this to drill the holes that the vents will pop into. I like to have a Dremel of some kind. You don't need a super powerful one. I'm using this to deburr and to smooth out the edges once I've made cuts with an edge cutter. You can use pretty much any style of these using a plastic or wood blade. There's a lot of different types of these, but you don't need a super powerful one. Again, we're only cutting plastic. So I like to have a multi-tool of some kind, a small, not as powerful drill, and that's so that I don't over tighten any of them. And then you'll need Phillips head screwdrivers. These are for hand tightening. You'll need a small set of drill bits because the holes that we're using don't need to be very large. The last two items that you will need are some sort of cutting shears, and that is to cut the notches in your PVC, like so. Cutting one little section out on each end, and then using your multi-tool to peel that away. That is so that it will fit into the notch here to prevent rotation when you set up your perch clips. You'll also need a PVC cutter in order to cut your perch to the correct size that you need. These are the products that I use to make an arboreal green tree python, emerald. You can do venomous in these as well. Any of your arboreal like white-lipped vipers or any of the bush vipers, things like that that are going to be arboreal and up off the ground, you can use these products. Florida Fish and Wildlife has approved them according to my inspector for use with venomous. So that was nice of him. I usually use 2 branches. You can use the same kind or you can use different ones. You're going to need a portal. You're going to need either plexiglass or the acrylic front. This can be purchased at your Home Depot, Lowe's. They sell these in the standard sizes that our portals are already made. I usually like to add some sort of handle on it. I order those from Amazon. The vents here, I like to put at least 2 of them on a smaller cage, 4 of them on a larger, a water dish holder, and then these are sold in pairs, same as the vents, and one has the perch clip to prevent rotation, and the other has the perch clip with a portal hole so that you can drill through and introduce your thermostat into the environment. So let's go ahead and put this cage together. So I like to mark all of the locations that I plan to put things in my cage prior to doing any of the drilling. I feel like this really makes sure that everything's lined up nicely. Each time that you purchase one of our cage clips or our dishes or our portals, it will come with a template. Now the template won't be plastic for the portals, it will be a paper template, and you'll cut out the appropriate size, and then you will mark it on the inside of your enclosure like so. So I already have where I want my portal to go marked there. Then I will take either the perch clip format or the dish holder format, and I will put this on the outside and actually screw it in and then pre-drill all of my holes. I try to make this as simple as possible for everyone, so they will go out with each of our products. That way you already have something that will make sure that your holes are lined up each time and you don't get frustrated with it. So let's go ahead and mark those. I'm going to take and put 2 different perches inside of this enclosure. So I will take my template and I will actually insert a screw into the center here, like so. And then I will put that template where I want it inside of the enclosure. The perch clip will go on the other side. I'm going to try and do this so that you guys can see it. Now that it's anchored there, I can take my drill and pre-drill my holes. Now I know that these will be lined up when I insert the screws with that perch clip on the other side. Now I'm going to do 2 of them. So I'm going to take and put the other one in a different spot. Now that I have that one in place, pre-drill the hole and then remove the template. I'm going to repeat the same process on the other side, but I'm first going to measure from the table to the center hole where I want the perch clip on the other side, which looks to be about 19 centimeters and about 13 centimeters on the bottom one. Rotate the cage and perform the same thing on the other side. Line this up, 13 centimeters, drill the holes, and now I know that I have my perch clips ready to be installed on the opposite edge. I'm going to install the perches prior to inserting my water dish because I want to make sure that my water dish is not going to be in the way of a perch when I'm trying to put it in or take it out, making it more difficult. So I like to take my screws at this time and go ahead and preset them in. Get them just barely poking out the other side. These screws will be included in your packet as well when you purchase an item from us. And now we're ready to install those perches. I will take and line up the holes, attaching one to one side, and then adding the second one with the pass-throughs to the other side. Now that those are securely in place, make sure they're locked down all the way. And I will do so by hand tightening. I never want to over tighten these and strip them, so I will make sure I do the last bit with a hand screwdriver. Make sure that they're flush without over tightening them. I do this on all of my products. They are plastic. Although they will not melt under a heat light, they can be stripped. So it's important not to over tighten by using too powerful of a drill. And there we have it. So I will cut the perches out for this shortly, but first let's cut out the center of the portal and attach the front. For this I'm going to use my angled cutter. I've already taken and used the template to draw out the square. I will err to the inside of this line because I'm going to trim up and straighten out those lines if I've got it a little wonky. And that is so that you can always take off more. You can't put it back. Once I have cut it out, you will have these plastic burrs from the plastic starting to melt slightly from the friction. I'll take a smooth blade, either a razor blade or my utility knife, and I will use the flat edge to just kind of scrape and clean those up slightly, get the bulk of them off. I never want to trim and try and make it wider with this because that kind of pressure while trying to cut this down can crack and ruin the side of your tub, put a big crack in it, and you got to glue it or get another one. Again, all right, so the bulk of that is cleaned up. Here's where the Dremel comes in. All I'm looking to do is use a sanding wheel of some sort. You just clean up that edge a little bit more. Pull off the little burrs that created. Now, the nice thing that I like about our portals is that we have an edge. Even if this is a little rough, you don't have to worry about that coming into contact with your animal because the lip on this is going to keep that secure. Now, I've taken and placed 4 screws in the corner of this so it would stay in one solid piece, just so I could model this for you. This portal goes here on the front, and it should fit just inside with that lip. Now, if it doesn't, I'm going to use the Dremel just to trim it up slightly and make it work. Then I will take and screw into the pre-holes here 4 screws into the corner. I'll put the top piece in, the side pieces, and then the bottom. I will get those in place and held together with the 4 corner screws. That way I can pre-drill the rest of these. I'll show you in the video here in a second. So it does appear that I need to take a little bit extra off. We're going to use the Dremel to do that. Now that the top is snapped in, I've got to take just a little bit of a shave off the side of this one. But first, I'm going to take my first edge piece. You can see it actually goes just behind that front piece and interlocks. This piece will set in, should fit snugly, and this piece should fit snugly into the bottom here. It does not, so we're going to take just a little bit off the edge in the corner here. And now that that fits snugly, I'm going to secure my first corner. I'm going to drill through the front to make sure everything lines up and I get right to the plastic. And drill my pre-hole, watch your fingers, through there. Now I will drill the screw in from the inside of the tote out. Pressing firmly, making sure that both pieces adhere to the screw, and then hand tighten to make sure that I don't over tighten it. Now, I had to take some off of this edge as well as this edge. So I'm going to make this straight from the outermost piece here and make this one straight from the outermost piece there using my Dremel saw. Now that I have this piece fitting in nicely, and I have the outer 2 edges, I will take and pre-drill the top corner and get this tightly secured. Once again, securing from the inside of the cage forward into my portal. Hand tightening to make sure I don't over tighten. And now we will line up the bottom. Snapped into place. This piece overlapping here as well. Snapped into place. Working my way along the edge until all of it is safely snapped where I want it to be. Now I will pre-drill my other 2 corners and anchor those screws, followed by pre-drilling the rest and completing securing my portal to the front of my enclosure. Hand tightening so as I don't overdo it. Now we'll pre-drill the rest of the holes and finish anchoring it down. Once the portal is completely secured, there's no way for that to be pushed off and for the animal to escape. At this point, we can take our plexiglass slide it into the railing, and slide it home, and flip down the outer two edges, securing it in place, and now you have a portal on your enclosure. So, for the final two steps, we're going to make our perches and put our branches on them, and then we're going to add our water dish, and then from there you'll just add any lighting source that you would need, or any heating source. If you're doing a terrestrial animal, you can put a heat pad underneath, or you can use a radiant heat emitter, or you can take and cut a screen hole in the top, attach screening, either using one of our portal systems or using glue, screws, however you would like to do that, and add a heat lamp to the top of it. All right, let's do our perches inside of our enclosure. We're going to measure from one perch clip to the other. I always make sure that I go from the top of the fin that keeps it from spinning on one side to the top of the other, which looks to be right about 22 inches. It actually looks like it's about 21 3/4. I add that extra 1/4 of an inch because we have some flex, and that will help keep the perch locked into place. So I will take a length of PVC, my cutters, going to measure it to 22 inches. Cut my first piece. The second piece should be the same. However, I always remeasure it because sometimes if you have a lip in the edge like this is, or if you're doing on the outer edge, it'll be a different length. And it actually looks to be about 21 3/4 on this side rather than the full 22. Now we will take our snips, and on each edge of our PVC, we will add probably about a 1/4 inch cut, completely opposite of each other. Do the same on this one. Using my multi-tool, I will peel this out by lifting and giving it a twist to make a nice clean edge to it. These should set, snapping in, adding that little flex, and snapping in securely in place. Snaps in, little flex, snaps in, securely in place. Now we have perches in our enclosure. The only thing remaining would be to add branches. We have two types of branches at Valhalla Exotics. We have type 1 and type 2. One is a little thicker, one is a little thinner with extra branches. They both are equally strong and both sport a runner to install a thermostat using the pi meters that I use for my animals. You can find those on Amazon. our perches adhere to our branches like so. They set into the edge here and then are adhered by the top two screws. So just for visual purposes, I will take and set these here, making sure that my edges with the clips cut out for the fin are vertical. And I will pre-drill my hole into my perch. One and two. Inserting the provided screws. Getting them started. Once it's started, I stop. And then I will hand tighten them so as not to overdo it. Although they are strong for extended pressure out on the edges of them, they will not crack that direction. Because of their design, they can crush by screwing these too tight. These were designed by an engineer friend of mine, so they are very strong on the outer edge if you put weight out this way because of the thickened portion at the bottom and the way they are anchored. But if you over tighten them, you can crack the lining in there. So as long as you don't do that, your perch will hold. Even with some of my larger emeralds, they don't break. Once that is installed, you can then snap your perch back into its location, and you have extra branches for your reptiles. As a final piece to this puzzle, I'm going to install an elevated dish to the back wall. I'm going to do so in a way that my bowl isn't going to be in the way here, and it's not going to be underneath to where I can't take it out without removing the perch. So I'm going to place it in an elevated spot so that it doesn't take up too much room on the perch, but allows the animal to move around and still allows me to get the cup out of it. Now here, I'm going to be in the way of the lid. Over here, I'm not going to be able to take it out. So I'm actually going to install it lower, down low, which you can do if you have terrestrial animals and you just don't want them to dump over their water dish. So I'm going to install it down this way, just as an example. Similar to the perch clips template, I'm going to find where I want my water dish, and I'm going to place the template on the outer edge. Once that is secured, make sure it's level and pre-drill my holes. Then remove the outer portion. Place the dish holder on the inside of the enclosure and anchor. Don't screw that center screw in all the way until you have the other ones in place. Otherwise, it'll be too tight for you to maneuver it and line those up. Once you have two of them in place, you can then tighten the rest of them down. So there we have a nearly completed Vanaheim Cage Conversion System cage by Valhalla Exotics. I need to add vents for airflow into my enclosure. I like to leave the top solid, and the reason for that is a lot of my humidity flies right out of my cage. It can be difficult to maintain, especially for green trees, emeralds, or any of the more rainforest species, even your geckos, need a high humidity level. So, standard 2-inch hole drill. I've already marked the edges, and I'm just going to drill them out. Once you have them drilled, I then take my multi-tool, clean up the burr edges, just a quick swipe, and then I'm going to take my vents and simply snap them in. Now you can add a bead of glue around these if you're working with something venomous or something that is an escape artist and really likes to try and get out. I've never had a snake push one of these out, but for added retention, that glue is not going to hurt anything. These literally are just going to snap right in. And now you have nice clean venting on the outer edge of your cage. I like to do my venting on the outer edge rather than on the top of the enclosure because that humidity will fly out. That is one of the biggest things for my emeralds, my green trees. I was having to mist them down all the time, and those vents on the side not only allow pheromones to pass back and forth if the cages are directly next to each other during breeding season, but they also prevent that humidity from burning off so quickly. So I don't have any difficulty with my shedding anymore. They're able to have full sheds and don't have difficulty where I'm having to bathe them because, let's be honest, neither of us enjoy that when they can be a little bit more on the defensive side from time to time. We have our perches, our branches attached to our perches that are elevated and held in place by our perch clips, which have a design that prevents rotation of our perches with a fin on the one side and has a hole on the other side for us to allow a pass through. We have our portals on the front, which come in sizes 4x5, 8x10, and 11x14. They are standard sizes at those measurements because your plexiglass and acrylic covers are sold in those sizes for picture frames. So you can purchase these at your local hardware store without having to cut your own acrylic or your own glass. We have our elevated dish, which holds a standard 4.5-inch deli cup. We have a plastic tote. Pretty much any kind will work. Make sure that you get one that isn't going to be a really soft plastic and melt under any heat, or something that's going to off-gas. You can look up which kinds do not produce that off-gas with the application of heat, and you can create these cages for yourself relatively cheaply. My favorite part about these products is actually that these are all reusable. So when the animal that I'm going to put in this enclosure outgrows it, I can take all of these products off and then apply them to the new enclosure. So I can get a larger tote and actually move all of these products right in, and the only thing that I have to change would be the size of the PVC perches, which are not very expensive. You can paint these to match the rest of it. I prefer to leave them white because then I know when they're dirty and need to be washed, but to each their own. The only thing left to do is to add the top to the enclosure and add your heat source. If you're going to use a radiant heat emitter, you can screw that directly to the top of the enclosure. If you're going to use a heat pad from the bottom, you can just put that on the outside on the bottom there. We can add bedding at our water dish, and then we can add a lighting system. If you want to use LED lights, I like to use the ones that you can link from cage to cage so that everything is on a remote. You can add a UVA or UVB light, or you can even cut out a portion of the top of the enclosure and add screen so that you can add a heat lamp to it if you're doing something that needs UVB. So let me close out this video by saying that I really enjoy making these enclosures, using my products, and I do honestly use them in all of my reptiles. I hope that you enjoyed them as well and that you found this video educational and helpful in the process of converting and switching to use your own custom designs. I am always available if you have questions or need help with something. You can text the number on our website, or you can hit us up on Facebook or Instagram. I'm always happy to help people with their reptile needs. You can also find our emails, our Patreon, as well as other social medias like our Discord on our website. And we'd be happy to have you join those and help support our cause. This is Joe from Valhalla Exotics, and this has been our DIY Vanaheim custom cage conversion video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time, so stay Valhalla bound.